The GEEK Files, 2026, April 12th. Transprovincial Airlines up in Terrace, fall of 88 to the spring of 92. The Terrace Airport was built during World War II. It was a triangular, typical military triangular runway with the main runway in use, now running easty-westy. The northeast-southy runway was where all of the facilities were, like the terminal and the hangars. And then the southeasty, northwesty final part of the triangle wasn't used much. The compass rose was out there, but hardly anybody used that. We were down at that end. We were running a lot of aircraft, so there was 3 Bristol freighters, the Twin Otter, the 206, the Navajo. And so it was gravel down that way. I'm not sure what our hangar building was. It did have an overhead enclosed part without doors. I think it was supposed to be some sort of FOB with, because the upstairs was obviously supposed to be a restaurant. The downstairs where we worked had offices and a bunch of stuff that we turned into shops. But the rest was gravel. So if we wanted to do any sort of run up on aircraft, we just push it out on the taxiway. On the northy-southy old runway. Well, and we've been doing this for years with, we just push it out there. And then somehow someone got a bug up their butt that we all needed radio licenses. And if we were going to push an aircraft out on the taxiway, we had to contact the tower. No idea why. Nobody was coming down that way. A typical military system had trenches underneath the runway that were for explosives, so that if there's an invasion, you could just blow, make the runway unusable by blowing up these trenches. So the southeasty, northwesty runway was never fixed. Like the other runways and taxiways were fixed with the trenches, so the heavies can come on them. But the last part of the triangle was never fixed and was restricted in weight. So no idea why they did this, because nobody was using that runway. Nobody was going to come down to our corner of the triangle. We were the only ones down there, but that's it. So they hired a guy, and at that time, aviation radio licenses were a 2-day thing. So we had a 1 day of book stuff. And then on the second day, and this was really cool, we practiced with a headset so we could hear ourselves speak on the radio, so we could develop a good radio voice. And I don't remember, and part of this was talking to the tower. I think this was the spring. And we would get fog rolling through. So fog is rolling through. And we're talking amongst ourselves to hear ourselves talk, and on the radio, and talking to tower to get, all the proper lingo down. And the Bell Telephone's jet comes in, and there's fog rolling through, and he makes it in on instruments, and we can hear this conversation because we're on the aviation frequencies. And then a Metroliner, and I can't remember, it'll come to me from some company in Vancouver, tried to come in, and we can hear him. He says, yeah, and you can hear him talk, and he misses, and he comes around for the second one, and we're watching, like we're upstairs, and because it's supposed to be some sort of restaurant, there's big bay windows, and we can see what's going on the runway, because the runway is north of us. And we're watching this bank of fog roll through, and he's going to try and shoot another approach to get in. And he misses again. And then on the radio, we hear, "Oh shit, I'm in the trees." And then the siren goes off. The terrorist does not had a volunteer fire department at that time, so they're the ones get called when there's an accident at the airport. And one of the pilots that was there doing the test, I don't know why he had to do the test. His beeper went off because he was on the volunteer fire department, and he had to go because this it's trees surrounding the airport, and he had gone into the trees. And so away this guy went, looked after it, and then he came back. And when he came back, he was white, absolutely white. Pine trees are pretty tough. And the Metroliner went in really low. Metroliners are long, skinny aircraft. It sheared off the wings and the tail. The pines sheared off the wings and the tail, and it went through until it stopped. And all of the people on board suffered. I can't remember what the proper word is, but it's when because your body is strapped in and nothing, and your arms and legs and head aren't, they tend to leave the body. And so he was dealing with that sort of issue with the remains. And it didn't catch fire, it was just everybody was just done. Yeah. But that's something that I will never forget, is being on the radio, listening to the pilot go, "Oh shit, I'm in the trees," and then the siren going off. Yeah, so making appropriate life decisions. You don't make any money, but you get good stories.